Hello everyone, Mr. Schultz here. So please write 1-1 in the top left-hand corner and your information in the top right-hand corner. Lesson 1-1, Numerical Expressions. A numerical expression is a math phrase. Now this could be anything from 4 plus 4 to 3 times 3 to 2 divided by 2. But the one thing we need to make sure is that there is no equal sign. So let's continue. Translate a verbal expression. So what does this mean? Well, we just right underneath it, translate it into more of a math sentence or phrase. 1 plus 8 divided by 3. So now we just have numbers and we have operation symbols. And if we have the proper training, we could accomplish it. Next up, translate a verbal expression with grouping symbols. So it says the sum of 5 and 9 divided by 2. Now in the top one, it says 1 plus 8 divided by 3. Now technically, some people might think, oh, that's 9, and then divided by 3 would be 3. However, because of the order of operations, it would be 8 divided by 3, and then add 1 at the end. So this one is trying to get away from that. We have the sum of 5 and 9, that means 5 plus 9, and then it says divided by 2. But they want you to find the sum first. So we create a group, in parentheses, brackets, something that will cause it to happen first. So 5 plus 9, and then divided by 2. Let's go on to example 3, an actual example. Bowling. A person's handicap in bowling is usually found by subtracting the person's average from 200, multiplying by 2, and then dividing by 3. Okay, Marley's bowling average is 170. Write a numerical expression for Marley's handicap in bowling. Well, we understand that we have to first subtract by her average. So 200 minus 170. But we're going to make that into parentheses so we understand that's first. Next, it says multiply by 2. So we can either times it by 2, or we can put 2 next to this parentheses because that means 2 times that right side right there. All right, next up. Dividing by 3. So we're going to divide by 3 now. That's it. Doesn't ask us to evaluate any more, so we're going to end it there. Next up, evaluate expressions. Okay, well, we can simplify things. So if it says 2 to the 4th power, this is really 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 3 to the 5th power would be 3 times 3 times 3, and then 2 more times, because how many times is it multiplying itself? 5 times. How many for the 2? 4 times. All right, well, evaluate. Simplify it. Write it a different way. So 2 times 2 would be 4. And it's still multiplying, so now we just do 4 times 4 is 16. Now you see I didn't put any equal signs because this is not an equation. To evaluate is not to solve. Next up, let's do this one. If I multiply this out correctly, I would get 9 times 9 times 3. Well, let's evaluate further. 81 times 3. And what do we get if we multiply that? 3 times 1 is 3. And 3 times 8 would be 24, but it's 80, so it would be 243. There you go. Let's go on. Now, if you remember some information from elementary school, we had the order of operations, and they gave us PEMDAS. Or they gave us, GEMDAS. So here's a modified version. It's just GEMS. The first thing that we have is grouping symbols. So with grouping symbols, we have to have the idea of there are things we have to solve that are in little rooms. The rooms could be parentheses, or brackets, or other grouping symbols. So before we go on, let's talk about some order of business. This is going to be the second page. The order of operations is on the second page. The first stuff we just had was on the first page by itself. This is on the second page by itself. So let's continue. Now, I like to put the following with the exponents, but a few people like to put them here because technically, if you have the square root of something, like the square root of 3 plus 1, technically that's a group in there. Or, you have cube root, where you would have a group inside, but I like to put it in here because it deals with powers, exponents, and other powers. So that leads us into exponents. So this was like 2 to the 4th power. Maybe you have x squared. Maybe you have 10 to the 5th power. These are all exponents. Let's go on. So the first one is resolve the group. Next one is, hey, make sure there's no more exponents. The next one is a combination of multiplication and divide. So let's write it in. Or division. And so we'd have to go left to right. Go left to right. And so, have to understand that, like, if we have multiple in a row, just go left to right and resolve. So understand that if we had like 4 times 1/2, that's the same thing as saying 4 divided by 2. It's the same thing, just written in a different way. For example, this should be on the same page, but Tammy did not format it correctly. Subtraction is going to be the same thing. Go left to right. And what are we going left to right? Subtraction or addition. So that's like saying, hey, what if we had 3 minus 2? That's the same thing as 3 plus negative 2. Whoop, whoop. It's the same thing. You will get the same response. All right, let's go on. So here's our third page. Plan for problem solving. So the first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to identify and understand the task. What is it that we have to understand? What's the question we have to answer? What's the problem we have to solve? Figure it out, and then plan your approach. What does this mean? Well, this means, we have to choose a strategy. What does that particularly mean? Well, and understand the steps. So figure out, make a plan. Okay, I'm going to solve it this way, and these are the steps in order to solve it. Well, solve the problem. Step 3 is going to be solve it. How do we solve it? Use the strategy you came up with in step 2. Now, let's say you did all that, but you don't get the right answer. Well, how do you know that? Because you checked the solution. Is the solution reasonable? Now, sometimes it's correct, but it's not something that we would normally have. So if it said, hey, we need you to bring 2.5 sandwiches to school, well, you could make 2.5 sandwiches. But if it said, hey, we want you to buy 3.5 burgers, that doesn't make sense. Buy 4 and bring it, round up. There's certain situations that you would have to change the answer. Maybe it's not the correct answer at all. But good luck and have a good day, guys. Bye.